Hey guys, Kamasak here. Welcome back to another book chat. Running a little bit late this week. I finished the second installment in the Hard Luck Hank series, Basket Full of Crap. Really interesting titles, to say the very least. Once again, the author Stephen Cantwell. For some reason, my mind always jumps to Stephen Collins. I don't even know Stephen Collins, so I don't know what. There's something screwed up in here. That's all the wires are twisted around and what have you. But anyway, we join Hank. Uh, the corporations have moved into Bellevue. Let me first say that I really wish Gian and Gionel were here. I was kind of interested in that storyline. They are nowhere to be seen in this book. It makes a mention of them like early on. It's like, oh, they left a couple years ago, and who knows what happened to them. They're doing something else elsewhere, but it seems like the book or this series is not done with them. I mean, you can't build up this level 10 mutant who can do anything it wants to, and a minor love interest between this mutant Hank, who probably can't get any other women, and this other mutant GN, and I don't think it's done. But anyway, this the station is free, so that makes all of it makes it kind of like an independent nation. So all of that stuff that they were doing that was illegal, all the drugs, all the alcohol, all the whatever else they were doing that was illegal, um, all of that is now perfectly legal, and it's all taxed under the whatever empire. I can't remember it off the top of my head. You know how I am with names. So corporations move in, and they pretty much regulate everything. They're star system wide, galaxy wide, so they're just everywhere. All these guys have like specific uniforms that have like their emblems of which corporation they are. These helmets, this body armor that results. I can't. Did Hank lost his blaster in the last book? I believe. Yeah, because it blew up and he was left with these green scars. He had to get rid of his shotgun because it was just absolutely useless. It wasn't even strong enough to pierce the armor of this new armor of all these corporation guys. So that's one storyline. You have another storyline of Hank returns to his apartment, and just for no reason, there's a dead body on his on his porch there, and he just kind of leaves it there. Not huge deal. He gives it a nickname. Oh god, what the hell did he call it? It's on the tip of my head. You know how I am with names already. This is two in 3 minutes. This is terrible. Um, Toby. Toby. I got one. He calls it Toby, and every time he comes back to his apartment, he's like, "Oh, hey, Toby, you're still here." Um, he's approached by these two kind of like albino sisters who attack him, and they're just using knives and they're jumping all over the place. They're labeled quadrads later in the book. But they're just like, they mention they cut him and they like stick a knife in his mouth, stick it through his cheeks, and there's like one wound that made him bleed, and it turns out he goes into his bathroom and like rips the toilet off the foundation. It's like, just he went in there to, because these girls need a lot of room. They're jumping off the walls and jumping over him and using him as a platform and all this other stuff. So he goes to the bathroom, rips the toilet seat off, just not the toilet seat, the whole toilet fixture, using it as like a club. So these girls don't come into the bathroom because, assumingly, they don't want to be murdered. If you're just joining this series, Hank has a mutation that he heals really quickly, and his skin is really thick, kind of like an armor. And it is revealed in this book. That makes him very slow, by the way. That's why he went into the bathroom and got a small space to defend himself. But it's revealed in this book also. Kind of jumping around. I got to go back to the sisters in a second, but it's revealed in this book that when he takes damage to his skin, it repairs and his body makes his skin thicker. So progressively, as he's getting wounded, he is also putting on more mass, which is making him slower than he already was. So that explains that. So it's cool we got an explanation for that. So the Jesus, it's already left my head. The sisters hire him to look for this criminal. They're not exactly, they don't give specifics on why they need her. They're just, we need you to find him. Here's some credits for the money. As you might expect, Hank was kind of the negotiator between gangs in the last book. Now there are no gangs because everybody, or mostly everybody, not everybody, but mostly everybody got pushed out of business by the corporations and are either working now for the corporations or have just pissed off completely. Um, so yeah, that's one of the things. One of his quests, he's working as like this freelance guy. The Navy approaches him and like, hey, we have this weapon that has suddenly disappeared, and this weapon is called, I think it's called the vaporizer or the disintegrator. So I pictured this thing as like a gun type thing, like a military boom pew pew, I guess that would be. But he he accepts that job because it gives him like a million. The Navy's going to give him a million credits to go find this damn thing. So he's got the Pale Sisters job, he's got the Navy job, and then later on in the book, he meets up with this guy who he just refers to as Naked Man because Naked Man, as his name, as you might suspect, butt naked. He's just standing in a room butt naked, doesn't even acknowledge it. And there you go. He's just Naked Man. And he is apparently like one of the leaders of this corporation, or yeah, he's the leader of one of the corporations. He gives Hank a job to go attack this other corporation, and he's like, how much money do you need for this? And Hank just throws out some BS number. Yeah, I need 30 million credits. And Naked Guy just, whatever, here you go. 30 million credits beam straight to his telly thing. And that's how, I didn't mention it last episode, I don't believe, but the telly is how they communicate, and they keep like all their financial stuff on their telly. I guess it's connected to the bank or something like that. But everybody on this place has a telly except for this one guy, Bronze, who is made to be a really likable guy, and it's so weird. It just he was kind of just thrown in the book just to. He didn't seem like he had a major role unless I forgot it. Just to cheer Hank up, I suppose. He's kind of like the ladies' man. He can get all the women he wants, and he ends up with Garm, who, if you remember, was the leader of the space station Belleville. She was the leader of Belleville at the time. So the Navy came in and left, and then there was kind of a weird thing, and Garm still has a really high position. She was one of the few people that kept a really high position. So she's still a high position, but she doesn't have a damn clue what the corporations are building, what they're making as in terms of like money, who they talk to. Just knows absolutely nothing about this business or these businesses. But she's works for them. Obviously, she needs a job, so she's going to do that. So man, it turns out that it's revealed that Garm was one of these Quadrad sisters, which gives Garm a little more backstory. He the book always builds her up as being like this super athletic hottie who's also uh, holds high rank. Usually, she used to be in the Navy, etc., etc. You can read the book and find out for yourself. So she and the Pale Sisters don't get along. For somehow I can't remember the exact circumstances, but they all get into a room, and this was near the end of the book, but they get into a fight, and Garm is better than these two, but Hank goes in to fight anyway. Clearly, when he's not able to do anything, he's just like, "No, stop it! you three, hey, stop it. And he ends up breaking the fight up by. He's got this freaking ridiculously sized. If you look at the book cover, if I can figure it out, I'll post it on the somewhere up here. But I'm probably not gonna figure it out. But yeah, he's got this gigantic like shoulder mounted like piece of a tank artillery, and that's his new weapon. It's got armor piercing shells, high explosive rounds, and there was another one, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna load this high explosive round in this small corridor, and if you guys don't knock this crap off, I'm gonna shoot it. And I think I don't even remember how that ended. Just read the book. It's a really bizarre way to end that. Uh, the sisters ended up getting caught by Garm and Hank, and the middle story, I'll bring that up to where this story is. The God, what was the middle story? The corporations, I believe. The Is that right? Which one did I mention second? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll do the corporations anyway. The corporations, it's found out that Naked Man sent Corporation A to go attack Corporation B. It's worth noting that earlier in the book, they have been noticed that two corporations are fighting in this area, but I mean, even though they're shooting back and forth, they're not hitting each other. But it just so happens that a lot of people are getting caught in the crossfire, all the natives of Belleville. So it's kind of suspicious. So Hank takes his 30 million in credits and loads up a bunch of people from Belleville. I think it's a couple hundred or a couple thousand. He leads this assault on this corporation, and these corporations are just massively funded. So he approaches this place, and like just tons of soldiers are marching down, and like his army is completely untrained. These guys, who the soldiers were revealed to be clones with half their brains missing, just enough functionality to take orders and uh, shoot whoever need be, but dumb enough to not think about, hey, this is not right or wrong. You're just gonna follow orders. It's exactly the same guy, just replicated billions and billions of times. But here comes a big old tank down the street too, and it just fires these high explosive mortars into the crowd and just. Hank is the only one that survives out of that entire army. They were split up into three groups, assumingly hundreds of people each group, and completely wiped out. Hank is sent to the hospital for a few days. He recovers. Hank always spends a few nights in the hospital every single book. It seems like I'm pretty sure that's going to be a trend going forward. There was another time, and there was like an I can't remember what those are called, but like the military tanks that have like the not a tank, but a vehicle that's got the windows cut out of the side so you can just shoot out of it. One of those approach him, and he or might have been one step up, whatever is in between tank and thing I just described. But he ended up shooting that thing at like point blank range. I can't remember if he used his armor piercing or if he used a high explosive, but blows that thing up. He ends up in the hospital, and he's got like giant shards of scrap metal like lodged in his legs and his chest and shoulder, and they ended up having to bring heavy lifting equipment just to yank that crap out of him. um, yeah, at least that's pretty amusing. Um, they kind of worry brought up a worry for Hank that because his body is growing in mass, he's so thick that he can't be seen with like scanning equipment or like anything that can see your interior. So they have no idea what's going on in there, but they assume if he's still growing, it's kind of going to eventually crush his organs and he'll die that way. So, um, oh boy, I can't even remember what the third story arc is. I am just the Navy with the disintegrator. I can't remember exactly how it ended up, or am I purposely leaving it out for you to go read? No, I can't remember. But it ends up in the basement of Denovo. I can't remember his name either, but something along those lines. It's in the basement, and all it really is like this canister, and it turns out that it was on the dead. dead body of Toby, who turns out to be, uh, much later in the book, revealed to be somebody. I'll leave that for you guys to decide, or to learn on your own. So they pluck it off him, and it turns out that's what ended up killing that person. They weren't murdered like on the doorstep, so it's imagine that this person came to Hank's door and just died because of this disintegrator. It's not like an instant thing. It, yeah, slowly deteriorated him. So, so yeah, Hank ends up getting that by the end of the book, and somewhere along the line, the story of the naked guy, he has been alive for billions of years for some reason. Like he is weird among his race, and he ended up leaving, and he just wants to see things. He just wants to see things he hasn't seen before. So what has he not seen before? A galactic civil war. So that is what he is trying to do. So in order to do this, he's bringing in these Theresians. If you don't remember what those are like Wallow from the last book, are just ginormous people that are really strong and hard to take out. These things mash Hank into the ground. So he's bringing in these biological weapons. He's bringing out these, assuming nuclear weapons and every other heavy weapon you can think of. So he's just doing that just for something to do because he is bored off his ass, apparently. Um, Walking around butt naked, just wants to kill people. Why not? It was revealed that I'll leave that for a little bit. Oh boy, so the disintegrator ends up being the only thing that can potentially damage this guy because everything else, he's tried to commit suicide and kill himself. I'm assuming he's been through plenty of issues or conflicts before, and people have tried to kill him, but they're unable to, and he's just. That's why he's bored. He can't die. There's nothing else to do. Might as well start a civil war. It's based on this empire that Hank belongs to, the Calmarian. I want to say Calmorian, but that's Warcraft. Um, I think it's Calmarian. This race, if you want to call it, it's like a mishmash of a bunch of aliens, and they're all just kind of balancing very slightly. It's not going to take much to push one side over the edge, and Naked Guy recognizes this, and he assumes correctly that the only thing that's going to, or that it won't take much to destabilize him. So that's why he's bringing in these Theresians through this portal that he somehow got onto the station. Um, it turns out that apparently he knows how to build portals, like the Navy has. They can summon these huge warships, but he's got his own personal portal because why not? Um, so yeah, that is roughly where this book leaves off. It ends up that the whole space station is sucked through one of these portals, and it's put near like one of the main capitals of this empire. I think it said it's called the Third World, even though it's like the second or fourth for some weird reason. Just to throw in a little bit of a goof, I suppose. Um, so yeah, that's where the book left off, and these freighters are taking off to different sectors and what have you, and assumably his plans are still in motion. His Even though it kind of hinted that the soldiers kind of were going crazy and they didn't have their leader anymore and were attacking each other, apparently they still have enough of foresight to go and carry out whatever orders they had. They might have orders. I think the book said that they might have orders for hundreds of years. Who knows? So yeah, that is pretty much where Basket Full of Crap left off. Once again, some spoilers. I probably should be saying that 19 minutes into the review, but yeah, there you go. It made me laugh a little more than the first book, so I did appreciate this one a little bit more than the first book. It's roughly the same idea, just I guess a little more action. There's about the same amount of action, but the humor was a little bit better. I remember a few times actually laughing out loud listening to audiobook, and that's fun having people take a look at you. What the fuck's wrong with that guy? But yeah, that's Basket Full of Crap, Hard Luck Hank, and by Stephen Campbell, not Collins. Yeah, definitely give it a read. If you like the first book, you'll like the second book. So that's my opinion. This is Takamasaki, and I'll see you later.